On to a Times Now exclusive. China and Pakistan are posing a new security challenge for India. A Defence Ministry report says China and Pakistan have stepped up efforts to build a road link that will give China quick access to the Arabian Sea. But what is worrying India is the fact that the road will pass through Indian territory. This assessment comes after China stepped up efforts to link the Karakoram highway to Pakistani port city of Gwadar. Though Pakistan and China built the Karakoram highway cutting through Indian territory 3 decades ago, now they're expanding the road to make it open all year round. This new road link will open up a sea access for landlocked Western China, where it will pass through Indian territory being held by Pakistan. The Defence Ministry report says its military, that's China's military assistance and cooperation with Pakistan and other countries in our neighbourhood, as well as the possibility of enhancing connectivity with Pakistan through the territory of Jammu and Kashmir, illegally occupied by China and Pakistan and with other countries, will also have a direct military implication for India.
A news report in the Chinese news outlet has raised concerns in New Delhi after it described the disputed Gilgit-Baltistan region as part of Pakistan territory. Now, defense experts see it as Beijing's latest provocation to New Delhi.
A news report in Chinese official media outlet Xinhua causing a big concern in the Indian government, describing disputed Gilgit-Baltistan region in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as Pakistan's territory, showing a complete disregard to India's concerns.
This has been made by China's official news agency. It must be understood that the Chinese press is completely controlled by the Chinese government. So therefore, whatever they state is also the view accepted by the Chinese government.
After the failed attempt with incursions in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh, this move the latest provocation by Beijing.
That China's interest lies all along, right from Akshay Chan to Shaksgam Valley, Gilgit-Baltistan and thereafter up to Afghanistan. The Chinese will take this.
This is not the first Chinese reference to Gilgit-Baltistan as part of Pakistan. The Chinese Foreign Ministry had made a similar statement in 2010 but was later withdrawn after India protested against it.
For years, the Chinese maintained that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir was disputed territory, which is bad enough. Now the Chinese have gone a step further and they have said it belongs to Pakistan. India is cross and unhappy and India has protested. Srinjoy Chaudhary, Delhi, Times Now.
China has blocked attempts to take action against Pakistan at the UN Sanctions Committee. Now, what we are getting to know at the point is that when the Sanctions Committee met in New York at India's request, a clarification was to be sought from Pakistan on Lakhvi's release in connection with the 26/11 attack. But the Chinese representative over there blocked the move, saying India did not provide sufficient information. On the phone line with me is Srinjoy Chaudhary. Srinjoy, give us more details on this and what was the kind of information that India had provided?
Well, as far as India was concerned, this is something India has been speaking about for a long time. The initial letter was written by the permanent representative to the United Nations, Ashok Mukherjee. And Ashok Mukherjee made it very clear that in this case, some action had to be taken against Hafiz Saeed and also Abdul Rahman Lakvi. Now, what really happened then was this issue was sent to all other countries who are part of the sanctions committee, including China. Now, what happens after that is that the chair of the sanctions committee, which is headed by New Zealand at this point, made it clear that two things had to be done. The first thing that had to be done was ask India for even more information that had been provided, including some of the stuff which India would have given to Pakistan in any case. The second thing is to ask Pakistan for a clarification that there are two issues here. Why has Lakvi been released on bail? That was the question that the UN Sanctions Committee on Al-Qaeda would have asked Pakistan on Lakvi.
Proof of Chinese involvement and Chinese presence in Pakistan to keep an eye on India. If a top Indian Army general is to be believed, the armed forces have proof of the presence of Chinese troops along the line of control between India and Pakistan.
It poses military challenges to India not only along the Sino-Indian border but also along the line of control. And we hear many people today who are concerned about the fact that if there was to be hostilities between us and Pakistan, what would be the complicity of the Chinese? Not only because they are in the other neighborhood, but the fact that they are actually stationed and present on the line of control. The Chinese presence in Gilgit-Baltistan or the northern areas is increasing steadily. China is involved in construction and upgradation of numerous roads, bridges, hydropower projects, etc. The Chinese link with Pakistan through the PAK lends strength to the China-PAK nexus, which has been of great security concern for us. First of all, it jeopardizes our regional and strategic interests in the long run. It facilitates speedy and enhanced deployment of Pakistan armed forces to complement China's military operations and thus outflank India. And finally, as a part of its string of pearls policy, the Chinese footprints are too close for comfort.
Now, GOC Northern Command, the person just on your screens, basically warning about a Chinese threat. He went on to say that Chinese troops were stationed all along the LOC, where one would ordinarily imagine Pakistani troops to be present. But Chinese troops, he said, have been spotted by Indian soldiers along with Pakistani soldiers. Let's go across now to Maruf Raza, strategic affairs expert, joining us to provide a perspective on this very big story we're following here. Maruf, thanks very much for joining us. Tell us how this entire development affects India, if we ever see any hostility from Pakistan.
Pakistan has always tried to leverage its relationship with China vis-a-vis India. And the only occasion where China actually was physically hostile against India was in 1962. In 1965, there was the Chinese threat, but in the 71 war with Pakistan, there was no physical Chinese movement of substantial nature, although India continued to remain alert to the Chinese threat. So Pakistan continues to hope in the event of a conflict or hostility, China would come to its aid. But if Kargil is an example of the kind of events that will follow between India and Pakistan, then China does not want to get physically involved with India. But having said that, the Chinese threat remains large all along the Sino-Indian border from Arunachal to J&K.
All right, Maruf, thanks very much for that update. In fact, a perspective there from Maruf as a strategic affairs expert.
While still considered to be a classified report, more than a 100-page section of the Henderson-Brooks report has now been made public. The report outlines a comprehensive operational review of India's military debacle in 1962, the India-China War. The 100-page section of the first volume of the report has been published by Australian journalist Neville Maxwell on his website.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया के एक जर्नलिस्ट ने बाहर निकाली, उनका कहना है कि भारत सरकार इसे निकालना नहीं चाहती थी क्योंकि इसमें नेहरू जी पे आरोप है, इसलिए मजबूर होकर के मैं ये स्वतः बाहर निकाल रहा हूँ, इसको भी बिना डी-नोटिफाई हुए।
देखिए 50 साल के बाद वो सो रहे थे क्या अभी तक? क्या आज 50 साल के बाद वो इस तरीके की बात कर रहे हैं? कोई भी इस बात पे यकीन नहीं करेगा, न देश करेगा न दुनिया करेगी। इस तरीके की बातों से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
Well, this is what we're getting you. It's still considered to be a classified report, and what we're talking about is more than 100-page section of the Henderson-Brooks report. While it's been made public now, this report outlines a comprehensive operational review of the debacle we got to see in the Indo-China war. We've got our National Affairs Editor Srinjoy Chaudhary with more. Yes, Srinjoy.
Well, there are three things that the Henderson-Brooks report specifically speaks about. It has to be first mentioned that it is still top secret. But the 3-4 issues are as follows. One, there is no question that India was comprehensively defeated in the 62 war. Second, that India was unprepared to fight the 62 war in terms of soldiers, in terms of weapons for the soldiers, in terms of kit for the soldiers. Third, that strategic mistakes were made by the Indian government, particularly in terms of what was called forward policy. If you have to move soldiers to the north, they have to be adequately strategically placed so that they are not overrun. These are the 3 basic points that the Henderson-Brooks report very clearly talked about. Now, all these years, this has been rightly or wrongly kept a secret. Neville Maxwell himself had written a book about this many years ago in Australia when Henderson-Brooks had spoken about this to him. But now, after all these years, and he's nearly 90, he has made a section of the report public. Now, this will not go down well with the Indian government because for all these years, it is still secret. There is one copy in the Defense Ministry, and that is lying in the Defense Secretary's office in the safe. But beyond that, it is not even put out anywhere.
Okay, Srinjoy, stay on with us because there are reactions coming in. Let's listen in to DP Tripathi, Srinjoy, and then I'm coming back to you.
अब ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया का पत्रकार क्या कहता है, इस पर विचार करने की जरूरत नहीं है। वो स्वयं जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने कहा कि गलती उनसे हुई। गलती ये थी कि उन्होंने चीन पर बहुत विश्वास किया। हिंदी चीनी भाई भाई जो था, जिस पर पूरा भरोसा था कि कभी इस तरह की घटना नहीं हो सकती, वो हुई। हाँ, हम लोग अगर सीमाओं पर वार्ता कर लेते पहले तो ज्यादा अच्छा होता। वो भी भारत सरकार के बहुत से लोगों ने करने की कोशिश की, लेकिन नहीं हुआ। इस ऑस्ट्रेलियाई पत्रकार की टिप्पणी पर मैं कुछ नहीं कहना चाहता। स्वयं जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने उसके विषय में कहा है, वो ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है।
Okay, so you're getting those reactions coming in. In fact, we also gotten a reaction from Rashid Alvi, who's come out and said that were they sleeping till now? Let's also listen in to the opposition reaction coming in. Let's listen in to Nirmala Sitharaman.
I have with me BJP spokesperson Nirmala Sitharaman. Ma'am, in an excerpt from Henderson-Brooks' confidential report on 1962's India-China war has been released by Australian journalist Maxwell, where he holds the first Prime Minister of India, Nehru, responsible personally for the war. Your first reactions on this, ma'am?
Well, this report has remained as a classified document for the best part of our free Indian years. Even today, it has not been released by the government. And as it is, this report only looks at the operational side of 1962 war, and it certainly doesn't have any section which is or. The TOR, the terms of reference, did not have anything to do with the civil government's decision making. But the fact remains that even as much as it can reveal, it will certainly tell us a lot of things which is important for our institutional memory and for lessons to be learned. And therefore, it is an important revelation coming as it does. Almost at the end of the tenure of the UPA government, which has certainly not so favorably impacted on our defense preparedness. And therefore, it's important.
Do you think this report...
Okay, so that's the response coming in from the BJP. Nirmala Sitharaman, you just heard that reaction. The Congress also responding, coming out and saying, in fact, Rashid Alvi saying that were they sleeping till now, why to rake this up after 50 years? So let's get in Srinjoy, who is helping us understand this better. Srinjoy, obviously the government is not very happy with these revelations coming into the forefront, into the public domain. The opposition, we've heard that reaction from Nirmala Sitharaman. How do we see this going forward now?
Well, as far as the government says, it's clearly unnecessary. And the reason for that is that this is still secret. There is, as I said, only one copy of this report that we even know